check. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to the Bro Show with Quinn Beasley, your boy Quinn. Once again, I've worked a 70-hour work week, and I'm dead to the world, and I'm squeezing out this podcast in hopes that it comes out not a pile of dog shit. Thank you for tuning back in. I'm starting to get some listeners. My YouTube channel is growing. It's expanding. My listeners on a purely audio basis are growing as well. So I'm happy and grateful. Those of you who are checking this out on YouTube, please do subscribe and comment for the algorithm so we can get this bad boy off the ground so I can put some more money. I already put a lot of money into this, but it's easier to put more money into it when you see it growing. When it's not growing and you're just throwing money at the problem, it's usually not good. That's the thing. Like, I feel like people can forgive shitty quality if the content is good, but there has to be like a base level of quality. Now, I know with podcasts, most people actually enjoy it just for like when they're driving to work or they're working out or they're doing something. I think very few people are like sitting and watching this on YouTube. Some people are, which is great, but I always wanted to focus on the audio, making sure that the audio sounds good. And I've done that. And the last couple episodes have been a little bit heavy, so I kind of want to lighten up a little bit. Something that's kind of nice. So on my Adventures in Teenage Rehab podcast, a lot of the kids that I went there actually listened to it, and I hadn't talked to for years. And Joe, the guy who got me to stop cutting and start smoking instead, great guy, the guy who gave me this burn on my hand, he actually reached out to me and said, hey, I'm not fucked anymore. I've actually got a house and a career, and I'm doing really well. And that made me really happy. Made me really happy to hear that. So I'm really glad that this podcast is a positive influence on some people, and I'm getting some nice shout-outs from people all over, and I'm enjoying that. Now, I'm just going to go over and grab my coffee really quick. As I said on the last podcast, I have been working as a production assistant in the film industry. And it's been interesting, man. It's really interesting. I really enjoy social dynamics. I really enjoy observing how people behave in certain situations. And set is an interesting one. Very interesting one, because there's like a hierarchy. And as someone in the locations department, we kind of used to be like the very bottom. Maybe background and extras were like below us. But now there's COVID team, and COVID team is like at the very bottom. Because they're kind of, so the COVID team, their job is basically to just come in and tell everyone to wear masks and their face shield, and hey, you need to stand further apart. But they're very new to film. It's a new department, so they don't really jive that well with the other departments, you know? So there's a little bit of tension, a little bit of drama. And I can't go that much into it without fucking probably threatening losing my job. I don't know. My boss liked my last podcast when I posted it. I don't know how much of this he listens to. I don't even think he would give a fuck. He's a comedian. He's a cool guy. But anyways, got to cover my ass. But yeah, it's been interesting. I've had some... I really like... Because my job is basically when the camera is rolling, I get positioned at a certain spot where someone is likely to walk into the frame of the shot. My job is to make sure that the other crew members don't walk into the shot, or sometimes the general public. If we're shooting outside in a public setting, like your job is stand here, make sure no one goes here. It's called a lockup. The other job is when the director yells rolling or cut. It's my job to yell that out to the rest of the crew so that they know what's going on. It's an interesting job, but it's also weird because you are the lowest person in the hierarchy on set, but your job is also to tell people who are higher in the hierarchy where they can and can't go sometimes. So that leads to either shittiness or people being really nice. Honestly, my experience has been like 99% positive. I only had one dude that was like a dick about it. Now, some of the other PAs have had a hard time with this, but like social intelligence is always something I've excelled at. So I kind of knew when I started, like, okay, if I'm going to be telling people who are higher above me that they can't go somewhere, you got to open up with why they can't go somewhere. Now, other new PAs, I've seen them do this. Be like, oh, sorry, you can't go here. And the person will instantly go, why? You know what I mean? Assuming you don't know what you're talking about, because you probably don't if you're a new PA, which I am. And they go, oh, well, like the shot, And then they'll go, are they rolling? Be like, oh, well, no, they're rehearsing. And then they'll just like walk through, right? So I knew from the get-go, the best thing to do is, so like yesterday, the guy who does the lighting, who some people have said is like a bit of a grumpy dick. He's always been cool to me, but he doesn't like being told he can't go somewhere. But he was about to come through, and it was interesting because my lockup was, I was in front of a door that was closed, and they were shooting on the other side of the door. But the director had said, the AD had said, hey, when people walk past this door, we can see their shadows under the door. So make sure people don't walk past. So I see this guy walking towards me like, oh, this is a nightmare. Because this guy knows they're shooting inside. So if I tell him, hey, you can't walk here, he's going to be like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and blow past me and be a dick about it. So I went up to him and was like, hey, dude, just to let you know, people that are walking through, their shadows are coming through under the door. So I just need you to like stay put for like just a second. Like, sorry about this. I know it's fucking annoying. And he was like, oh, okay, cool, man. And he was fine. But that's the thing. You got to open with the why. People don't like being told, no, you can't do something. It has to make sense in their head. You know what I mean? And even myself, like I've always been this way. When my parents were like, you can't do this. And I would go, why? And when they didn't have a good enough answer for me, I was like, well, fuck you. I'm doing it anyways. It needs to make sense. You know what I mean? You got to break it down. People don't like rules, generally speaking. And people will get on board with rules if they make sense. Now, this also kind of overlays into Bonnie Henry's whole shitty restrictions, or restrictions all over the world in regards to COVID that don't make any sense. Like the Adelaide Fringe in Australia is happening right now. And the government has banned street shows from happening, where just like weeks before they had like 20,000 people in an arena for like a sports thing. Like, fuck you. That's when people start going, hey, fuck your rules, all right? They're not consistent. You can't tell me the why. You can't tell me why live sports is okay, but live entertainment is not. And that's when you lose the confidence of the people, and that's what the government's doing. But fuck them. They've always been bad at this. Anyways, back to being on set. I had a really funny exchange with a guy where he was like, I was like, hey, you can't go through here. He goes, why, are they rolling? I was like, no, they're rehearsing. Like, I'm going through. I'm like, no, you can't go through. The director specifically said, make sure no one comes through while we're rehearsing. And he goes, yeah, I'm usually an assistant director, and I know how it all works. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. I used to be the manager at Chuck E. Cheese. He just like, because it was like, fuck you, you're pulling retroactive rank on me. Like this guy was, I won't say what he was doing, but he was not an AD on that production. He was something like way below that. And he was pulling retroactive rank. I'm like, oh, well, usually I'm this, but right now I'm not. It's like, well, why are you telling me this information? You know, like, hey, it was like, what, did you get demoted from AD to what you are now? Is that like, you know what I mean? So I was like, fuck you, I'm going to make a shitty joke. And just like, yeah, I used to be manager of Chuck E. Cheese. He's like, oh yeah, I used to be the director of a circus company. Could you go get me a fucking sandwich? Like, why are you pulling retroactive rank on me? Anyways, it was funny because the next day he was super nice to me. Like I just didn't, and another PA had this experience with him too, where he was a dick and she just kind of took it. I just threw it back in a funny way without being confrontational, without causing an issue, right? Because I was smiling. Now here's the thing, when you're smiling in a mask, people can tell. You know what I mean? Your eyes change, your whole body demeanor change. So I was smiling. My vibe was not like, fuck you. My vibe was like, kind of like a fun, like, oh yeah, man, like, yeah, I used to be a manager of Chuck E. Cheese. Like, you're clearly having a hard day. I hope it gets better. And then the next day, our key didn't come in, and then I was the offset key that day. And then he needed help with something. I walked up, hey man, you need a hand with this? You need a heater? He's like, yeah, I do. I was like, all right, I'll get it for you. He's like, hey man, what's your name? Are you like the offset key today? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, cool, man. And then he was super nice to me. And that's the thing. Sometimes people are just having a bad day, and they're going to take it out on you. And if you respond with, hey, fuck you, cunt, you know what I mean? It's just going to get worse. But if you respond in like more of like a, hey, I don't care, kind of understanding, jovial, joking around way, it kind of gives you an opportunity to like build a relationship with that person, you know? And that's what happened. And now this guy knows me by name. He's like, hey, Quinn, what's up? And I'm like, hey, what's up, so-and-so? And we're good. Whereas I could have gone like, oh, fuck that guy. You just fucking pulled rank on me and like didn't respect me. It's like, I understand. I am the lowest on the totem, on this totem pole. I understand that you're gonna like, it feels like I'm getting in the way of your job when I tell you can't go somewhere. But some people just don't understand social dynamics. I love this type of shit. I love observing this type of shit. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. One thing that's really funny. So I just started this job like 3 weeks ago, but I did it once in September on a really big Netflix movie, like a $200 million production. It was my first day. And sets can be a giant shit show. Like, a lot of the time, most of the people involved don't know what the fuck is going on. And I rock up, and I'm like, hey, my first day, what's going on? They're like, oh, yeah, your key is Tyler. Where's Tyler? Oh, he's on set. Where am I supposed to be? Oh, well, you're on a different set. Well, where do I go? Well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so all over the place. And then I finally make it to set. I get this guy's number. I'm like, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? He's like, oh, you need to set up Sandra Bullock's tent. And I was like, oh, okay. Where does it go? He's like, I don't know. Find a spot wherever feels right. This is my first day. Never been on a film set. Don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And they're like, it's your job to set up the tent that Sandra Bullock's going to be in. How fucking crazy is that? This is fucking, I love that about set. So one of my jobs was to like stand there and guard this alleyway where Sandra Bullock was practicing her lines or whatever. Or someone, it might not have been Sandra Bullock. Some big famous actress was practicing her lines. And this Netflix rep, and this is in the middle of Gastown, this Netflix rep woman comes up to me and goes, hey, just want to let you know that you're a PA, not a security guard, so your job, if someone is coming through, is to just radio someone, okay? Don't be a hero. Don't try and force someone out. That's not your job, okay? We want you to stay safe, blah, 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 especially if one of these junkies starts coming at you. And I was like, do you know what? To be honest, all of the junkies that wanted to go through that alleyway I was guarding were really fucking nice. Like, every time a junkie came up, and I'd be like, hey, bro, we're shooting a movie down here. This alleyway is blocked up. They're like, oh, no worries, man. Okay, I'll just find another spot to shoot up. Hey, what are you guys filming? I'd be like, oh, it's a Netflix thing. He's like, oh, that's fucking cool, man. And he would leave. But the fucking preppy, fucking rich, snoozy, gay downtown dog walkers were a nightmare. They would come up and I'd be like, hey, sorry, man, we're shooting a movie down here. And they'd be like, this is the only spot in all of downtown where my dog can pee and poo. And you guys just come in and and just like losing it over me. I'm like, dude, junkies are nicer than you. Fuck you. I literally said to one of these guys, I was like, listen, I have so little to do with this production. I literally am the lowest person on this totem pole. You think I decided to film here? You think I got the permits? You think I did? Why are you yelling at me? I'm standing here in a fucking high-vis vest with a radio, and my job is just to go, can you please go around? Why are you yelling at me? Call the city. Fuck you, you entitled rich cunt that is mad that their dog can't piss down this alleyway. You know, junkies have more fucking respect and understanding than you. This kind of goes back to me enjoying like fucked up people more than I enjoy the privilege. I do like, you know what? Because here's the thing: there's two types of privileged people. There's privileged people who you could say are economically privileged, but they came from a like tough working class background and had to claw their way out of poverty to get to where they are, and now they're in a very privileged position. Those people I can deal with because they understand reality. They understand life. But there's a second type of privileged person, the kind of person who was kind of born into it, right? Comes from a good family, always encouraged, born into a situation with connections, just kind of had everything not handed to them, because you also do have to have a decent work ethic in a lot of jobs, but they just don't understand the struggles of an average person, and those people I cannot fucking deal with. They are just on a different planet. The entitlement is astounding. You see this with actors sometimes too, because sometimes actors are really cool and down to earth, and those are the ones who have like struggled or have addiction issues. And then there's the ones that, you know, just like, you know, rich parents send them to an acting school that costs like $100 fucking grand a year. And they're on a different planet. They don't understand why working class people have the politics they do. I remember I talked to a friend of mine once, a really good friend of mine, who I hadn't seen in a few years, went to university, got woke. She's only like 22. So it's like, fair enough. You're in that phase of your life. I think I was woke at 22 as well. I was woke at like 20, 21, 22. I think 22 was the year I got like unwoke. But I was woke at that time too. And I remember I was sitting with her and she was like, yeah, my mom's not a feminist. And it's really sad because she was raped. And I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. I can't believe she went through that. It's like, yeah, but every time she says she's not a feminist, she's kind of just like spitting on the experience of me and my sister. And I was like, what? I was like, have you been sexually assaulted? She's like, no. I was like, then how fucking dare you say that your mom, you're spitting on her experience. If she has been through all of this horrific stuff off the basis of her gender, like sexual assault, definitely happened to her because she was a woman. Like, that's horrible. And you're coming in and you're focusing on the wording of what you call, like, that's spitting. It's basically saying, hey, it doesn't matter that you were sexually assaulted because you don't identify as a very vague word and term that has been poisoned because of the actions of insufferable feminists. That's nuts. That's horrible. And I was like, oh my God, I just kind of like, I did call her out on it, but eventually you hit a point with some people where you're like, okay, arguing is not going to get us anywhere, so let's just move to the next topic. And I'm like, you're young. We'll talk in a few years and it'll be fine. But I thought that was crazy. Crazy to be like, hey, you're invalidating my experience as a woman because you won't call yourself a feminist. I mean, this is the danger of identity politics, right? Is focusing on tiny differences that don't actually matter. Whether you call yourself a feminist or not doesn't really matter. Are you someone who actively treats women like shit? No? Great. Are you voting for people that are going to be pushing agendas that are positive for women? Yes? Great. Are you a feminist? No. Burn them down! It's just like, wait, what? But that's not how we create change. Anyways, I could go on this tangent forever. Sorry if you're listening. I just fucking screamed into this mic really fucking loud. But yeah, man. I don't know what started this tangent again. But I kind of want to get into some of the crazier shit that I've been through in my life, because I've been through a lot of crazy shit. And I wanted to go over a time where I was arrested and treated like shit, because I've noticed like a few people, when the whole BLM thing was happening, were sharing their stories, and some of them were truly horrific. And some of them were the biggest pile of nothing I'd ever seen in my life, and was just people just trying to get on the train. There was this guy, I considered doing a video about this, but I didn't want to cause uproar in my community. There was this guy who posted a video of his worst interaction with the police. And what it was he was driving home from a party, stops at a stoplight, waits. Light turns green, takes a left turn. All of a sudden, sirens go off. He's like, fuck, here we go. Cop comes over and he goes, why did you run the light? And then he goes, I did it. I waited. And the guy goes, are you drunk? And then he goes, no. And then the officer goes, eh. And it's just like, and then the guy's just like, okay. And he was like, slow down next time. And the guy was like, okay. And that was it. That was the extent. And then at the very, so he tells this whole story at the end. And he goes, and this is why we march. It was like, dude, I have 10 stories about my experience with the cops that are 10,000 times worse than that. And he was like, yeah, this is why we march. And I believe he pulled me over because I was black. It's like, is that the worst? Everyone's had an interaction with a cop where they were a dick and flexed their power. It fucking sucks, but it's like, it just sucks because there's so many legit instances of racism and police brutality that are fucking horrible. So many. And for you to come in and be like, yeah, I'm a part of this too. A cop was a dick to me for half a second and then let me go. It was like, oh my God. And of course, he posts this video and hundreds of white people, oh my God, I'm so sorry this happened to you. This is the worst thing I could imagine. It was like, guys, can we pull it back for a second? How is this even close to a horrible thing to happen to someone? This whole interaction took about a minute long max, and the cop was kind of a dick to you for a second. You know what happened to me once? I was down on the beach partying with my friends. I was about 17 years old. No, I was 16. I was 16 years old. The cops come down, approach us. I'm like with a bunch of people. I matched a description of someone who had stabbed someone. They come over, grab me, put me in cuffs, and throw me face down on the ground. I'm 16 years old. I'm fucking terrified. They're like, get on the fucking ground. Da, 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 da. One of the cops even pulls out a gun. Everyone at the party is like, oh my God, what's going on? Da, 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 da. They search me. They keep me in cuffs for like an hour until they eventually realize that, oh no, sorry, it was like 2 hours that kept me in cuffs. They eventually realized that I was the wrong guy. And at this point, it was like 3 a.m. All the buses had stopped running and I had to like walk home, which took me like 4 hours. That's my experience with the police. That's 10,000 times worse. And that's not even the worst of them. That's like 10,000 times worse than being pulled over and a cop being kind of a dick to you for a second. You know what I mean? To be like thrown into the cuffs, put into cuffs, thrown onto the ground, have a gun pointed at you. Like, did you just like to have a fucking live gun pointed at your fucking head? It's fucking terrifying. It's like, this guy right here could just end my fucking life if I make the wrong move. That's a fucking terrifying situation to be in. And you're getting on Facebook and being like, I'm a victim because a cop pulled me over and was a dick for half a second? Fuck you. This same guy posted on Facebook that the reason there weren't enough black jugglers was because the juggling community was racist. I was like, dude, I hate to break it to you. The reason there aren't a lot of black jugglers is because juggling's kind of gay. I'm sorry. I know this is maybe a cancelable podcast. Maybe. But dude, juggling's kind of gay. It just is. Take it from someone who juggled most of his life, was a juggler in high school, was called fag all the time for being a juggler. It's not a cool thing to do, and black dudes are macho. Black dudes are cool. They don't want to be fucking throwing balls in the air, man. They want to be doing cool black guy shit. I'm sorry, it's kind of a nerdy thing, and it doesn't appeal to that demographic of the population. Sorry, doesn't mean it's because of racism. Not everything can be explained away through racism. This is the hard thing about being kind of a based lefty like myself. Is like, I'm a Bernie bro. I'm a lefty. I believe in fucking socialized healthcare and all this wonderful stuff. But the identity politics just drives me up the fucking wall because it's so transparent and so many white liberals kowtow to it, right? And then the moment you call it out or just go like, hey, this is fucking stupid, they go, oh, what do you support, Donald Trump? What are you, a conservative? It's like, no, I'm the furthest fucking thing from a conservative. I just think you're full of shit, okay? Saying that you're full of shit does not make me a fucking conservative, okay? Fuck you. I'm so tired of these people basing everything on their race and sexual orientation. It's so tiresome. Give it up already. Go out and campaign for something that matters. Instead of telling us about the things that happened to you when you were 12 years old that you're still not over. I have fucking skeletons in my closet. I have horrible things that have happened to me that have shaped who I am and given me a shitloads of trauma that I still have to fight and deal with every day. I have my demons. But you know what? I don't take them out on the world, okay? I don't say, hey, my problems should be your problems, okay? It's not my fault I'm a piece of shit. It's because I've been oppressed. No, you're an asshole. I know lots of people with horrifying stories of racism and sexism and violence committed against them based off their gender, race, and sexual orientation. And you know what? They still manage to be good people, okay? We can tell the difference. Fuck. I'm really going off today, folks. I'm really going off today. I want to get canceled so bad. I just don't give a fuck, truly. This is my therapy. I was shit-talking a family member for an hour, for 35 minutes last week. And I don't think she'll ever listen to it because she hates me. Well, that's okay. Oh. I think I've said on this podcast before that yelling about racism is, in fact, a white person pastime, and I include myself in this. I really do. The moment I started dating a brown girl, I never had to hear about racism ever again in a condescending manner. Well, actually, because you're white, you're racist. No matter what. Even though your best friend is black and you're dating an Indian girl, doesn't mean that you're not racist. Now, I will agree. Like, your best friend could be black and your girlfriend could be brown. You could hate Chinese people. you know what I mean? It is true. One does not cancel out the other. So the wokies are right on that when they say, just because you have black friends doesn't mean you're not racist. That is true. That is actually something that I would agree with. But I don't know where I was going with this whole tangent here. Cancel culture's out of control. Gina Carano was dropped by Disney because she made some stupid fucking post. Now, I will say this. She shouldn't have been canceled, but what she posted was fucking retarded. I'm sorry, it was. Comparing conservatives to Jews in the Holocaust, not a great move. Not a great move. I don't know why she felt the need to do it. Wasn't in a podcast. It wasn't in a comedy routine. She just reshared a fucking meme. You got canceled over a fucking meme. What are you doing? Have some tact. I don't know. I read what she posted. I didn't think it was the worst thing in the world. I don't think she deserved to be fired. But I think it was a stupid thing to post. And I've said adamantly that I think that posting your opinion in text form, especially when it's something that controversial and something that requires a dialogue, is a bad fucking move. You're kind of just begging to be canceled. You're like, I won't be silenced. Well, you don't have to be silenced, but have some fucking tact. You know what I mean? That being said, I do like her. I wish she didn't get canceled. I wish she didn't get fired. And fuck Disney. Fuck Disney all the way. Dude, was it Walt Disney, making propaganda for the Nazis? He was a total anti-Semite. I can't stand these corporate cunts, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. But here's the thing. These companies aren't woke. It's capitalism. It all comes back to capitalism. It's because they're terrified that one fucking nickel is going to roll out the door. They are terrified that they are going to lose money. That's why they hate controversy, right? So it's not even like, oh, these companies are woke or left or right. They're like, hey, what's the dominant narrative? The left won the cultural war. Okay, so we're going to give left-wing people more leeway. And if you're right-wing and it causes a big stir, we're going to drop you because we don't want the fucking trouble, right? But the right does this too. The right tried to cancel James Gunn, and I think they did. So acting like it's the left or the right is stupid. Both sides do it. It's just human nature. It's human nature to tear down anyone who has anything more than you do, which is why cancel culture still exists, because there's so few jobs in media and entertainment, right? That they were just like, hey, let's tear this fucking guy down so there's room for me at the top. That's why it exists, because entertainers kind of support cancel culture because they're like, well, it's not me getting canceled. Fuck that guy. He has more than me. Let's tear him down. There's more room for me to climb up this ladder and get to the top. It all comes down to like a scarcity of jobs, really. You know, it's because we are nearing a peak of capitalism, which is going to fuck a lot of people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a socialist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a total capitalist. But we're getting to the point where you have self-driving car, like with the innovation of technologies, where whole industries are just going to be wiped out overnight. Like millions of people, millions of jobs just gone. And what the fuck are those people going to do? They're fucked. So I think we're hitting a point in capitalism where it does need market regulation and market incentives in order to preserve jobs. That's why I'm like, fuck you for calling me conservative. I'm not a free market absolutist. I feel like that's close to an indefensible position. Now, I do love the free market. I love that Uber came in and fucked the taxi industry. Did you see how different it fucking was when, I remember just on this block, just on this street here, like 6 years ago, good luck getting a fucking cab at 4 a.m. when all the clubs were closed. It was impossible. You couldn't wave one down. You were on hold for 30 minutes. It was fucking battle zone getting a cab out there. Then Uber came along and threatened their entire existence. They had a monopoly on the market, and they were fat and they were lazy, and they didn't give a fuck about you. They didn't care about giving you a quality product because they knew they were the only game in town. And then when Uber came in and threatened their shitty monopoly, they're like, oh, sorry, whoops, okay, we're going to do a good job now. Okay, you can get cabs now. We're not going to treat you like shit. You need market competition in order to keep a good product. You just need it. I mean, look at the difference when you are driving. Next time you're driving and you see a construction site that's private, like they're building, okay, so look at that building over there. Oh, you can't see it in shot. There's a building right over there that's being built. They're going to sell apartments. They build that motherfucker in 6 months, right? Those contractors have been hired by a company that want to get this job done so they can make more money. Now, look at the pipes being replaced by the city. Look at the quality of work being done by the government-hired construction workers. The difference is unbelievable. You cross by this construction site that's being privately funded, everyone on site is working. Everyone's working. Everyone's like, okay, I'm doing this, da-da-da-da-da. Everyone's got to function. Everyone's working their fucking ass off to make it happen. They build a fucking 10-story building in like a year. Then look at them changing a few fucking pipes funded by the government. You're going to see 17 people standing around doing fuck all, and it's going to take them 4 months to fix a fucking pipe. I know, because I have had fucking construction along this road for the last 4 months because they're changing the piping system. And these cunts are paid by the government, which means there's no incentive for them to do a good fucking job. No market incentive. They have fucking bottomless pockets from the government, can't be fired, union, blah, 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 blah. That's the thing. And that's the problem with this fucking whole COVID situation. You have the government running the show. There's no profit incentive. Everything gets done so slowly. When you work for the government, your only job really is to justify your existence and justify why your department is still needed and needs more funding. That's all it fucking is. I've said this on another podcast. I'm doing a Netflix show. When I get tested, I get my results in like a day. I get tested like 3 times a week. I get tested from the government to find out if I have COVID. It takes like 4 days to find out if I have it. You know, the government is not doing a good fucking job of handling this pandemic. And surprise, surprise, they don't do anything well. They never have. Stop putting your faith in the government and scientists. I don't understand. My generation has traded God for government and science, and they're both fucking embarrassing. They're both embarrassing. Like, what do you believe in? I believe in a God I can't see. What do you... I'm going to make a segment. More on Quinn Beasley's takes that please no one and upset everybody. If you're a Christian, you're stupid. If you're an atheist, you're stupid. But this is the thing that we really have. Is like, I don't believe in God. What do you believe in? Science? I believe in science. Well, look at what look at what the food industry did. They paid scientists to lie about how dangerous and addictive sugar was for years. Sugar is one of the most addictive drugs out there. More than caffeine or probably pretty close to fucking nicotine. And guess what? It's fucking everywhere. Why? Corporations paid off scientists to create studies to make it look harmless. This always happens. All you cunts that are like capitalism is evil. Okay, I agree, but look into why it's evil. Don't be like capitalism is evil and science is awesome. Well, guess what? Science and capitalism are connected, okay? We're all living in the same economy, the same system. If you have enough money, you can get any scientist to prove anything you want. So when you say, oh, I believe in science, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Seriously. Have we not learned now of how fucking long science really takes, how long it took them to get this vaccine? Even now, they're like, there's so much we don't know about COVID. We don't understand. We don't know this, The government has had no clue what the fuck is going on every step of this pandemic because science takes a long time. The things that we know now took decades of research to understand. Whew. I'm going off today, folks. I'm going off. This may be the best podcast I've ever done. I'm very happy. But, hey, what do I believe in? I mean, maybe you're asking, well, Quinn, if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in science, what do you believe in? Nothing. I believe in what the fuck I can see in front of me. All I know is I don't know shit. That's what I'm going to say. About COVID, I don't know anything. I've read things, but for every study I find confirming one bias, I can find one contradicting it. So I've just landed in, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be telling other people how to live. That's my thing. Because at the end of the day, there are the types of people, I've said this before, you knew who the people were when COVID started who were going to get super self-righteous about it. It was the people who enjoyed telling other people what to do. I don't like telling other people what to do. I like shitting on people who tell other people what to do. That's one of my favorite things. That's why I don't get along with this particular family member, because she's one of these people that's like, oh, yeah, Quinn, you should do this and this. You shouldn't do that. Or she'll like tell me what I'm feeling. Like someone will make a joke to me. I'm like, that's funny. Like, oh, you could tell Quinn's like super upset. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, come on. We know you're upset. It's like, bitch, why are you telling me what I'm feeling? Fuck you. These fucking white women that just love to tell people how to think, how they're feeling. Like, fuck off. Anyways, I guess we'll title this podcast "God and Science," both equally embarrassing, and then I'll lose all my subscribers and all my listeners. The only people I want listening to this podcast are the people like me who believe in nothing and are on the verge of suicide. Those are the people I want. I said on my last podcast, if you have not been beaten or molested, we probably can't be friends. Well, if you don't believe in nothing and aren't on the verge of jumping off your fucking balcony, find another podcast. Okay, obviously I'm joking. Fuck, I'm losing my mind, folks. I am glad to be working again. Do you know what's kind of nice? Now that I have a full-time job, more than full-time, 80 hours a week, I don't give a fuck about checking politics constantly, which I think is what's going to make this show better. Because I want to comment on politics without really knowing in depth what I'm talking about. Because I don't want to show a clear bias when talking left or right, because I feel like that's fucking lame, you know? I want to be able to just like read what's happening and just give you like a general synopsis of my thoughts. And now that I'm not reading the news constantly, I'm not constantly angry and bummed out. And I think that's a good thing. I just don't have time. I don't have the time to be outraged anymore. I mean, clearly I do. So what I'm doing is this podcast, I give myself 1 hour a week to be angry and yell about all the things that piss me off. Hopefully you find it entertaining. I think I'm going to wrap this one up. This has been The Bro Show. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate everyone that actually like makes it to the end, and especially the people who have been sending me messages like Mark, AJ, Kiara, Joe, all you lovely people that are like messaging me being like, hey, listen to your podcast, I love it, or Ben. It really does make my day and makes me want to like put more into this, because at the end of the day, I fucking love doing this. I love entertaining people. I love being silly. I don't really want to jump on a moral high horse every week and fucking preach, but I just love shooting the shit. And if you are enjoying this, God bless you. And feel free to follow me on Instagram at Mighty Bro Show. Just subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment, it helps a ton. And please leave a positive review in the Apple Podcast store. That will help me a ton. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I love you all. Have a great day and a beautiful life. I have been Quinn Beasley with The Bro Show. Thank you.